Scooter, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. I got to start off by saying thank you for doing this.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for doing this.
You
It's
have no
awesome.
idea, you have no idea. If you asked me when I was, 18, 19, 20, when I was introduced to cold, if I'd be doing this, 20 years later, I'd say get out of here. But
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, you do a lot of cool bands around there, so it's dope. I feel
yeah,
like we're a part of the NEPA scene now with half the members and all of our crew and our merch company being from that area. So,
yeah, we'll definitely get into that too.
yeah.
Uh, but I think you just saw Limp Bizkit.
I did, man. I went and saw him last night. Fred, I told him we were coming up. We're living in Kansas City now, and me and my stepdaughter and my wife. My stepdaughter's a Biscuit fan though, so when I found that out, I go, well, we have to show her the real deal experience here. So we got a hold of Fred and John and everybody. We went out, and it was awesome. Man. Biscuit shows. It's just a fun time. It's a good time, no matter. I don't think as many times as I play with those guys, there's never been a bad show. It's just always fire. So it was really nice, and we got to hang out with them backstage and do all the stuff, and we pretty much got to go wherever we wanted on the stage. I think they gave me way too much liberty. When we got up there, they were just like, "No, man, we were close," but they were like, "No, you got to get up." I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna be on the stage literally while they're playing." But it was fun. Man. It was cool. It was really nice, and they lit it up.
Yeah, well, you're a rock star yourself, so you get to have those privileges. I saw them myself also for the first time 3 weeks ago when they played in Wilkes-Barre, and
Yeah.
they get a bad rap, right? They kind of embrace that whole thing, and the tour is called Still Sucks. Their album was called Still Sucks, right? But I mean, I've been a fan since I was like 16 or 17, and the show that they put on was one of the best shows I've seen in a while. I had no expectations going in, but I left there with a smile on my face and saying that was awesome.
Exactly. I think even if you're not a Limp Bizkit fan per se, you can still go to a show and appreciate it, right? Because the comedy part of it, Fred just being amazing. He's just an entertainer, man. And so is Wes and the whole band for that matter. It's just it's an energy in that room when you see that band play.
Yeah, I think people forget how talented Wes is too.
The entire band is ridiculously talented.
For
It's
sure.
crazy. Wes's brother, they used to be in a band called Kronk when we were kids. We were Grundig and they were in a band called Kronk, and they were young. They were probably 13, 14. And his brother was a dope bass player, like one of the most amazing bass players I've ever heard to this day. And I don't know the reason why, with all the musician friends that we had and Fred and everybody around, I think he chose not to do it, but he could have been an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fred personally, I guess, through the years.
Oh, well, yeah, we, grew up in Jacksonville together. And like I said, Wes was kind of our liaison to Fred and everything. I think Wes probably turned him on to Grundig, and he just became a fan. And so how we used to play, me and Sam used to have this apartment at the beach on 3rd Street. It had a giant deck. And us and Limp Bizkit would just play inside the house sometimes when it was raining, outside on the deck, and just get keg and have a party. And it was just good old days, man. Meet everybody's his friends. And that's before anybody got signed or was even thinking about getting signed. We were just playing music.
Do you think there's something about being unsigned and the simplicity of life before that you miss a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I like the way it is now.
Sure, of course. I mean,
where they don't have to be signed and they can still, mold their own careers. But yeah, it was a much simpler time, a much freer time, And I'm not talking about that as far as just being an artist. I'm talking about just the day-to-day schedule of having to do things with the work of it all.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So you just got back from a little bit of a tour, right?
Yeah, we just finished the Black Sunday tour.
And that was the first tour post-COVID, right?
We had toured it earlier in the year, or no, we had done one tour once the vaccine was out, and it was okay. It was, you know, people were still scared to go out, so the crowds weren't what they needed to be in certain places. Certain places they were. A lot of people were wearing masks. There was still a lot of mandates with clubs. So, you know, we pretty much just triple back stuff and did our thing, tried to stay safe during that time. But it was scary, I think, for everyone involved a little bit. However, this past tour that we did, the Black Sunday tour, it seems like everybody is ready to be back out and have a good time, you know, which is awesome. And, you know, out of all of our bands, we had Black Satellite, University Drive, Cold, all the bands, all the crews, merch, everybody. No one got sick at all through the whole tour. So that's a good sign.
That's great.
And we were literally out, all of the bands were, after the shows, were out hanging out the merch table, just surrounded by people all every night, hundreds of people. So yeah, it made me felt more secure. I think all of us.
That's like a win in itself. I was good for 2.5 years. Went with the family to Florida to Disney, and came back with a nice little souvenir called COVID.
Oh man, yeah, I got it as well. I got it where, you know, my taste buds left and I couldn't smell anything. I remember one morning I was trying to smell my weed, and I go, "What the hell is happening?" You know? And not being able to taste things. The only thing I could taste was Coca-Cola. And I don't know if that was because I'm such an addict to it that the muscle memory thing just made me taste the Coke, but everything else I couldn't taste or smell for about a week. Did you have that as well?
No, I got lucky. That was my biggest fear. Was you know, dying, obviously, but I had very mild symptoms, and honestly, I would not have even tested myself if I wasn't going to see my in-laws, who are a little older. We were just traveling, and I figured just to be safe, you know, test before we saw them. And I had like mild Jesus, I can't even think right now. Allergy symptoms.
I thought you were going to say memory loss.
That too, right? But yeah, I mean, I felt fine outside of allergy symptoms. That, you know, I have allergies. So and again, I would not have tested myself. So I could have been walking around, you know, unknowingly. But so yeah, I didn't lose taste, I didn't lose smell. But yeah, it was, my biggest concern was losing taste and smell, because like I consider myself a craft beer connoisseur, and I drink for taste these days. And if I lost the ability to do that, I would have been bummed out.
You would have been bummed out. However, it only lasts a few days. Like mine was, I think, a little longer than normal, but other people that had it, said 4 or 5 days and their taste came back. So.
I know people it took a few weeks.
Oh, really? Yeah. I have heard of that too.
Yeah. And you can't see me right now, and I do this on purpose, but like I am not a skinny fellow. Yeah. So I would have been bummed out about not being able to taste food, although maybe that would have done me good, because then I would have ate less, and then that would have been a good thing too.
I don't think I ate less. I still think I ate the same amount. It's just not as gratifying.
Yeah, you're right.
At the end of it all. But yes.
So yeah, you mentioned earlier kind of being part of the NEPA family. You mentioned you were with University Drive, or University Drive was with you on this last tour. They had been with you back in 2019 as well. How did you guys hear about them, and what made you bring them on board with you guys?
Well, actually, all 3 tours that we've done since we started back, University Drive wasn't on all of the shows on the second tour. However, they were on certain regional spots where you guys were for that tour. I don't know if it was. I'm an indie music lover. Like I love indie music more than I love heavy. However, I do love some heavy music. So I was on Instagram one night. I don't know if it was because of the the algorithm with Nick and Johnny and everybody with our band at University Drive popped up in a feed, but I saw the name and I go, oh, I had to check these guys out real quick. And the record was called Clear. I heard maybe 2 songs, and Ed Kuzo, the singer for University Drive, had written this beautiful record when his mom passed. And it's about dealing with depression and death and all the things involved in that. And the interludes, which between the songs on that record, were people talking about depression, anxiety, just fear of losing someone. And it really connected. Like, I just sat there and listened to that record all night. And I called Nick the next day. I go, University Drive? He's like, he goes, yeah, man, I do. I said, well, do you think they would entertain coming out on tour with Cold? Because, we're a heavier band. So I always figured those bands are, and, some of those bands are pretentious. Some of them aren't. They're just cool people. So they were, they happened, a few of the members had grown up with Cold, so I go, man, hit them up and see if they would be interested in doing a tour with us. And we just gave them, I think, the opening slot on that, just to see how they would do and see how they would like the road. And they ended up loving it, and we all ended up loving them, and becoming great friends with them, like a family as well. So I'd do anything for those guys. I think Ed, Angelo, Ryan, they're all just amazing musicians, man. They deserve everything. So I'm going to keep pushing in University Drive as much as I can until they don't want me
to. I doubt that. Earlier tonight, they're actually doing a podcast with a good friend of mine, Rich Howells, with the NEPA scene. And
I saw that.
They were talking very highly of you guys and Cold, and just what a great opportunity it was. And did you know that one of those voices in between those songs was mine?
No shit.
Yep.
Wow. Well, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool, man. Which between which songs? Do you
know? You know what? I don't remember. I think between track 5 and 6.
Wow.
I'd have to look to be sure. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Yeah, I've known Ed for a long time, and when he got that opportunity with you and the band, I was like so happy for him. He's, like you said, he's such a great guy, and the whole band are just genuine people, and
they're real artists. We were talking about, there's some bands that come out on tour with us that aren't genuine people. They're genuine people. However, they want to they try to play the rock star thing a little too hard, to where it doesn't seem honest. And I think that shows to the crowd when the band's not real, or they're not singing about real topics, or they're not being honest with themselves with writing. So University Drive is definitely the band that is honest with themselves. It's all real music, just like with Cold, So I think that's why I connected with it. And yeah, I sat there. Ed did this song Shoreline that he had written for his stepfather, building a life for his mom, and then trying to build. He said, "I watched him build you an ocean." I go, "What?" So it's one of the lines of the song. So he started doing that song just by himself on the last tour, on the Black Sunday tour, and I went out there. And I couldn't handle it. I started crying every night. It got so bad to where I would walk up to the side of the stage before he even started playing the song and telling the person next to me, I go, you're about to lose. You're about to lose it. And then I was losing, and of course, everybody around me would as well. But yeah, it was so emotional, so beautiful. But that's what he does, man. He deserves all of that because he's a true artist, and all of those guys. So I wish him nothing but best.
Yeah, Ryan actually lives down the road from me.
Yeah.
That's great.
Great young man.
Yeah, and then furthermore with the NEPA attachments, you mentioned Nick Coyle, who was in Lifer, the Drama Club, Stardog Champion, countless projects that were all amazing in their own different way. And then you also had Johnny Nova, right?
Yep.
And then you had Tony, who was part of Lifer on the drums.
Yeah.
How did all those characters kind of fall into place?
Nick Coyle, I've been, since the first time I heard him in Lifer, back when we were young, I heard the band and I was like, yeah, we gotta bring these guys out on tour. So I've been a huge fan of Nick and everything that he's done my entire life. He's one of the best musicians and beautiful people that I met throughout my life. And so we started, me and him and Lindsay, I had them both come out to California when we were doing Things We Can't Stop. We started creating the record, created the record. We did it all just us three. And we had Aaron, a guy, come in and play drums, of course, but the rest of the record was Aaron Fulton is his name, actually. That's an amazing story in itself. We had had a drummer with us on that, writing the songs and going to record that record with us. And then when we got out to record, things just weren't gelling with it. It wasn't, he was a very methodical, by the book kind of drummer. And we needed something a little looser because we were kind of writing it. I'm not saying he's a bad drummer, he's an amazing drummer. Just, it just didn't feel right at the time. So we had to let him go. So he went, and then we're sitting in the studio in Phoenix, Arizona going, what the hell are we gonna do? We don't have a drummer. We're in the middle of making a record right now. So it just so happens that the studio that we were in, which Jeremy Parker was the engineer at that time, he did my Super Fiction record, did an Evanescence record with back in the day, done a bunch of big things. He, at the studio, there was a lot of practice rooms for just local bands playing. And so me and Nick were walking down the hall and we heard this band playing and the drums. We were just like, what the hell is happening right here? So we, I go, dude, I don't know what's going on, but he's an amazing drummer. I can't see him. All I can do is hear him. So, but I knew he was dope. So I waited until their band stopped practicing. And basically I just walked in the practice room and I go, hey man, this is ridiculously strange just to bring up or say or anything. I don't want to walk on anybody's toes right now, but we're in a band called Cold. We're over here in the studio and we need a drummer to come in. And I think you're the dude. And so he sits down, his band was like, what the fuck? And then he was like, what's going on right now? And then I was like, yeah, and they knew who Cold was. So he had come in, I think the next day, I go, man, can you just listen to these few songs and then come in tomorrow and maybe just try out, just see if it flows, right? And good God, dude, he sat down. I've never seen anything like it. It was a magical experience. He literally listened to the record one day, came in the next day, he didn't want to talk about what was going on during the songs or anything like that. Just goes, man, he's a black guy, had long dreads. And he goes, man, just let me put the headphones on and just see what happens. And I go, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Let's just see what happens, right? Because that's the magical music, like just things just happening. Like as I'm writing, I do the same thing. I just flow with it. And I go, this shit's gonna be dope. So he puts the headphones on and starts going through, and we're like, yeah, okay, there's no rehearsal. There's no tryout. You're the guy for sure. And he literally just busted through all the songs, like within, I think, 2 days. And, that was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And not for nothing, the drums on that album, if you really, listen to them, there's some intricate things happening. It's really kind of an amazing thing, but he was just all vibe. He didn't care, which made it perfect,
It's amazing how, obviously music comes together like that and how important it is to, you can have a drummer that's by the books, like you said, and but if you don't have that gel, that vibe, sometimes it just doesn't work. And music is such an amazing thing. And, I feel so honored to be, I'm not a musician myself. I love music. I can't perform it. So for me to be able to do this is an incredible thing for me.
Yeah. Man, I'm sorry, I slipped away from what topic we were talking about. I don't want to not talk about that because, like I said, Nick Coyle's my guy.
Yes.
Love him forever. So when, after the record was done, we started trying to form a band. Of course, Nick mentioned Johnny because we needed another guitarist. And Johnny came in, and Johnny's a character, man. But dude, he is the mad scientist dude with all the pedals and all the things. And he just made it, even more what it needed to be. And then with Tony, we had a couple of things happen with our other drummers. And Tony ended up coming in on the last tour, kind of saved the day. Like he came in 2 weeks before the tour because we had found out that we were minus a drummer. So Nick called up Tony. Tony came in 2 weeks, learned 20 songs. He's a total pro. The thing, Tony Krusker, we were on tour, on this past tour. We are on tour, University Drive's opening up, and University Drive's drummer ends up leaving for some reason halfway through the tour, 2 days before the Whiskey show. And not for nothing, that's a big show for the guys, right? Like we're playing LA, we're playing the Whiskey. And their drummer had ended up leaving, and after the Anaheim show, which was a dope show, it was pretty much sold out. It was a great show. So they just came and picked up the drums and took off. So Ed and I were standing there going, what are we gonna do? What the hell is gonna happen right now? Tony jumps in and he goes, don't even worry about it. We had a show in San Diego the next night. And Tony, who I don't know if he really had listened to a lot of University Drive stuff, he's a metal guy, right? So he wasn't I don't think he was listening to University Drive other than hearing them play it before us. So Tony goes, don't worry about it, dude, I got you. And they were like, well, dude, what are we gonna do about San Diego tomorrow night? Because we're gonna play the show. And so he woke up the next morning, listened to the 7 songs, and me and Lindsay Manfredi got up. We went in the building to watch the show, just to kind of go, this is gonna be a nightmare. Everything's gonna go wrong, but it's gonna be hilarious, but it's gonna be what it is, right? So we walked in there thinking that was gonna happen, and dude, it was like he had been playing with University Drive for years. And, I think something was thrown around, or somebody said something where they were like, how are you doing that? Because I'm a goddamn professional. That's how I'm doing it.
Of course.
He is. And I go, man, it's a lot of impressive things happening with the musicians around.
Well, not just that. I mean, you got to figure he decided he was going to step in, play a show prior to your show.
Yeah. Yes. He did that too. And John Nova started out playing 3 songs, opening up the University Drive show. He would get up there and play the first 3 songs and kind of beef it up a little bit, give him a little extra guitar. And then he just kept adding the songs. So he was playing the whole set with University Drive before the thing with the drummer happened, and Tony jumped in. So basically then you had half the Cold playing with University Drive before Cold played on, directly after. So yeah, both of those guys, that's tough, especially for a drummer. Like Johnny said, he goes, it kind of loosens him up a little bit before the Cold show. Gives him a vibe of the crowd and the energy and stuff like that. But Tony, Tony just goes in his world, man, and does his thing. So that's a tough one to play drums for that long, because we were doing 20 songs at University Drive, 7 or 8, so 28 songs a night. It's tough.
Yeah, I'm not going to call them out, but they're not getting younger.
Yeah, nobody's getting younger, man.
I mean, the UD guys are pretty, they're on the younger end, but I mean, Tony and Johnny, they're young. And I'm not saying I'm young by any means. I'm just saying, like, they're not spring chickens.
We talk about this, but yes, they're not, but they pulled it off, man, in the entire tour. And there was consecutive, there was 6 shows in a row sometimes, 6 consecutive nights. So but it was only a 7-week tour. It was a little shorter than what we initially do. So it worked, and by the time we were out there, I think everybody was happy to be home and get a break, because it was a tough one. However, it was a great tour. and the fans were great. And, like I said, everybody feels like they can come back out and have a good time. So it was nice.
And I think that goes a lot to, things I've heard about you and what a great individual you are. I feel like
Those are all nice.
they're not, and here's why. I feel like, and maybe it's a different time now than it was 20 years ago, but I feel like I don't know that bands would have shared members that were on the same exact tour.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking that it might take away from their own performance because the audience kind of sees them prior and it kind of might be weird or whatever it might be, but it goes to show how supportive you are of not only your bandmates but the people you have opening the show for you and all that kind of stuff. So
well, I mean, I think that when bands come on tour with us at first, there's always that weird little thing. University Drive had known other people from our band, so there was more of an easy connection with those guys. But when younger bands come on our tour, there's always that couple of days of uneasiness, trying to figure people out. But at the end of it all, we're just trying to have fun now.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to go out there and we're trying to give love and have people have a nice experience when they come to a Cold show. It's an emotional thing normally when people come to Cold shows. So it turns into a beautiful night, man. There's tears shed, there's people laughing. It's kind of like a Cold song, man. It's sad and then it gets happier at the end. It's a positive note to send you off, So that's kind of like the whole thing. So I think once they figured that out, and this isn't a regimented, gotta do this, be on time, all this crap. It's not like that, man. It's just like a big family experience. And I think a lot of the bands that come out with us will wait for days. There's been bands that we just, we hold dear, man. We gravitate towards those guys. They're good people. That's what it's all about.
Has there ever been a band that didn't kind of fit that vibe?
I mean, there is. I'm definitely not going to say.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, but there's been bands that and you know what? Not recently though. I don't think from the time that Cold after the 2019 tour till now, I don't think any bands have been that band. Definitely back in the day when active rock was huge and early 2000s, late 90s. Yeah, there was some crazy shit that went on during shows with other bands and things like that. But everybody was young. We were all kids and everybody just became rock stars and things were going. Lots of partying was happening. So yeah, that thing was all involved. Now everybody's older as far as Cold. So yeah, we're just trying to get out there and have a good time and pay some bills, man.
Can you talk a little bit about the kind of rise to stardom? I mean, you've been around for a long time. I think you started in what was it, 86 as Grundig?
Yeah, yes, at least 85, 86 as Grundig, and we had formed in Florida. We had pretty much played everywhere in Florida and huge crowds. So we had the audacity to think that we could go to Atlanta and do the same there. However, Atlanta at that time was very, still very alternative REM-ish type style of things happening there. So they didn't want any grunge bands there, back in. So we got stuck. We played the Point a couple of times, which was a cool place at 5 Points in Atlanta. I don't even know if that place still exists. And that was a great show, but most of the time they would put us out at this place called Magruder's. It was out off the beaten path and I don't know, it was Norcross or somewhere Alpharetta outside of Atlanta. And we went out to play this show and we were there on a weekend and there was a band called Crawlspace playing there. And so we watched this band and we were like, holy shit, these guys are ridiculously good. And we ended up playing with them. And it turns out Crawlspace turned into Seven Dust. So it was basically those guys. So they basically put the two metal bands out at kind of a redneckish bar. I don't even remember the name of the place, but we played there many times, many weekends with those guys and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we did our Atlanta thing. I forget what your question was. You were talking about the rise to fame. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, in the late '90s or in early 2000s, when
Yeah.
you had those records, you were kind of like every 2-3 years you're releasing music.
Yeah.
Talk about like that part of your life, and then obviously the next 3 records were spaced out quite a
Yeah.
distance. So
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So Fred Durst was a huge Cold fan, and like I said, Wes and all of us had grown up together. So I think I was going to. I was always I worked at a golf course most of my life when I was younger. I always wanted to be, a golf course superintendent. That was kind of my goal, either that or a rock star. The juxtaposition of that is definitely far away, but not, because a lot of rock bands like to play golf. So I was doing that, and the people that I worked for at Sawgrass wanted to send me to turf school, which is a 2-year thing, and then you slowly get trained into being a golf course superintendent. So I was about to sign up for the school and take off within 2 weeks. Like, it was a kind of a quick thing they wanted me to do to get out there. It was in Palaco, Florida. So I remember doing the papers. Me and Sam McCandless were living together at the time on that house we were talking about where Bizkit and us used to play at. And Fred Durst just randomly calls, and this is the first time I ever talked to Fred. And he just randomly calls me, and he goes, "Hey man, Scooter Warner." Yeah, this is Fred Durst. He goes, "I don't know if you know me, man, but because I'm in Bizkit and we're a band." And I said, "Yeah, we saw a couple of your shows." And he was like, "Well, dude, I'm a Grundig fan. You still playing those sad songs?" I go, "Yes." He goes, "Well, I have Ross Robinson coming tomorrow, which is the producer to produce Korn, Bizkit, Soulfly, many bands, even recently Cure." He's coming in tomorrow to do something with Bizkit, but I want you to come over and play him a couple of songs. I want you to play Ugly and Strip Her Down or something. So I came over, and I was so nervous. I drank too much before I got there, because I was like, "God, I'm a nervous wreck." I had put a cowboy hat on to kind of hide my face. And I sat down on the couch and I played Ugly for him. And I think I got 3/4 of the way through Ugly, and Ross was just like, "Stop." And I go, "There you go, we're done." Yeah. Good. There you go. Take the guitar back. And he goes, "No, man." He goes, "Dude, would you be interested in coming out to LA and making a record?" And I go, off that, like my whole life, we tried to get record deals. We'd spent hours in studios, all the things. And this one moment led to us getting signed. However, in retrospect, that one moment was my whole lifetime of all that, positioning yourself for that one moment, which was dope. So it happened that quick. Like, he goes, "I'm going to get you a record tomorrow." I even went home to my parents, and I was like, "I don't know. Something's going to happen to the dark cloud will come in and wash this all away." And it didn't. He called the next day and he said, "Man, I'm just got Jordan Schur on Flip Records. He signed Bizkit. He's got a band from Atlanta, a young girl named Jane Jensen on his label." He goes, "So he kind of wants to take you guys on, and you and Bizkit kind of run together and do your thing." Yes, of course, right? So I fly out to LA, which was a ridiculous experience for your first time. I was 26 years old. I never really been to many places. I never even been on a plane. So I got to go out to LA, and then went to this big house in Beverly Hills, did the whole wine and dine thing, and we did the record deal. And so we were on Flip then. And yeah, man, it just started at that moment. It seemed like so fast. We went out to Malibu, to Indigo Ranch to create the record with Ross Robinson. I think the Korn guys just got done, or Slipknot was about to come on after us. But yeah, it was a magical thing. We did the record, I'd say within a couple months. Toured on that relentlessly. I mean, we toured so much back then, man. I think one of the tours, we counted the months, it was like 14 months of straight touring. And
wow.
we didn't even have places to live out of that point. None of us had apartments or places to go home to. So the bus had become our home. So we were just like, well, why are we going to go back? Like, this is where I sleep at. So just keep us out. And the record label, of course, was excited about that. So it was just month after month, it just continued. We just kept adding on to shows, playing with other bands. So yeah, that happened. And we had some success with it. And then when 13 Ways to Bleed came out, I kind of wanted a different sound. So I wanted to go to Seattle to record the record. And B, I needed somebody that was intertwined in that circle of Nirvana, Soundgarden, any of those grunge bands that we love so much. And it was Adam Casper, who's the producer. He recorded the last Nirvana tracks. And he was a very dope producer. He was a guy that when you go to the studio, we ended up going up to Seattle, we went into the studio, started doing the record. And he was the producer that lets the band make the record. He definitely gives you, things that he would like to do. But it's a very cool experience. He's like, he just makes anything you do sound really good. So we went through that record. It was cool experiences happening with that. Aaron came on and sang the lead song with us in Wish. And then there was a moment where Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic came in the studio one day. And I think I walked in the studio and just kept walking by going, this is not happening right now. I haven't even had my coffee. And Dave Grohl's sitting in there laughing with Adam Casper. So I walked out in the studio. I had to, gain my composure. And we walked back in. And yeah, it was just a magical time, that whole thing. And then when 13 Ways came out, it almost immediately shipped gold with it. So some kind of surge had happened, with all of that. I think Just Got Wicked was the first video off of that. And some kind of thing happened where right when the record comes out, we were only a few thousand away from a gold certified record. So that's when things started really going well, And then Year of the Spider, of course, that just took off. Like that put us in a whole other world where we were doing, Tonight Show, Pepsi Smash, we were doing all these big festivals. Farm Club helped us out a lot. Matt Pinfield was an integral part of helping out Cole, because not only on 120 minutes did he play us a lot, we became best friends. He did so much for us throughout. I think when him and Jimmy Iovine started Farm Club, they had us come on there. So yeah, it was just a whirlwind of things within those two records, 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage and Year of the Spider. So
yeah, I mean, what were your thoughts? Like,
thoughts of what?
I mean, like, this is all happening and you're exploding, and it's like, is your life a whirlwind? Like, what's going on? Like,
I think at the time when it's happening, for us at least, we felt like we'd worked really hard to beat it, and that we putting in our dues, and that was it. We were just like, we don't care what we got to do, we just got to do it. So we just got to stay out on the road the whole time. So we just toured relentlessly with everybody, anybody. Like I said, we still at that point really didn't care about being home. And yeah, so that's it, man. You put in the work, you get it done, and things happen. And granted, some people do, and it doesn't happen. But you just gotta have the desire to keep going. A lot of people end up quitting. I know a lot of musicians that throughout my career, and just from back home, it seems like every time I go back home, they're a different goddamn band. Like, you got to stick with something, find your footing, and make it happen. So yeah, just stay together for a while and play, or don't. Just be a goddamn solo artist if you're that dude. If you got to keep changing band members, then maybe there's something going on. So
yeah. And then so you had the success of those three records, and then, like I said, like the three after that were kind of spaced out quite a bit. Is there a reason for that? Is it, was it label related?
I think Different Kind of Pain was different because of no pun, because I was going through some stuff. My sister had been diagnosed with melanoma. She had stage 4 cancer during the Year of the Spider. So right before Year of the Spider, that happened. So me being out and traveling throughout there was really hard, not knowing what was going on with her, because I think my family and her were protecting me from what the doctors were saying, just so I would, you know, so I could do my thing and live my dream, which I love them for that, but I want to know what's going on. So when I found out what was actually going on, it really, I was out. I think I was midway through the year of the spider kind of rise, and it just broke me down. It took me out. I couldn't not be with my little sister while she was going through this. So when that was over, we took a little break so I could be with her through, you know, the end. Well, she beat cancer the first time, and when she beat it, you know, it gave me this thing. And I had gone through a lot of emotional things, and I got through a bad breakup with my daughter's mother. So I was going through a bunch of bad shit. I was doing way too many drugs, way too much drinking, and that record, Different Kind of Pain, was the one that was a pivotal record for us, for me, because it changed my life. You know, not that I still don't mess up sometimes and do bad, stupid things, but it gave me more direction on what I needed to be and the kind of songwriter that I needed to be, because I think that the songs that we create, you know, they've always helped me, and then it translates to the fans. So I really wanted to, it was like I've told these people the lyrics that you don't want to write down on paper, you know, I'll tell any writer, any songwriter, the things that you don't feel you should write down on paper, things that are too close to you, that you think that people might go, what the fuck? Those are the things that translate to people, because those are the real things. And that's what they really want to hear. And that's an honest songwriting or honest writing. So that's how I did it with that record. That record became more of a real moment that was happening in my life. And it was funny when that record came out, because it was a little different than Year of the Spider and 13 Ways to Be on Stage, which all our records are different. But that record, at that time, to do something different was kind of strange, because you're coming off the Year of the Spider. And of course, the labels and everybody wants you to make the same record. And we just don't do that. So I made this real honest record about things that were really happening, things that I needed to get over and be lifted out of. And I wrote songs to lift me out of those things. When the record first came out, the fans were like, what the hell is this? This is a lot of slow stuff on it, still cool, but I don't know, man. And everybody gave me shit for it for a couple of years. And I said, well, the problem with that, man, I said, the reason you didn't hear that record is because the reason you didn't hear that record is because you didn't need that record, right? So years go by, and you know, those fans that were telling me that they didn't feel it, now it's their, you know, they can't live without this song, or this song helped them, or they played it at a wedding, things like that. Like that record had, it took a minute, but it became one of the best records that Cole's has completed, and you know, the Cold Army loves it now. So after Different Kind of Pain, we went to Superfiction, and yeah, that's another thing. I didn't even know if I wanted to make another record then, and but we did. But I didn't want to make any. I wanted to deviate from everything at this point. I'm not writing a personal record. I'm not going to write. You know, no. Try to not to be as dark as we had in the past. I just want to write it. I used to write these grandiose stories when I was a kid. Just, you know, about whatever, just like a script or a movie kind of things. And I just wanted to go into that world and write a record like that. So Superfiction became that, which, you know, it turns out it was a dope record too. It's another thing. We always deviate from what we're supposed to be, which always gives the fans a little shock at the beginning of it. But then I think that they gravitate towards it. And now it's expected, right? Yep. So now every time they get a Cold record, they go, well, we'll see what happens. We know it's still gonna have that Cold feeling in it. And we're probably gonna have a song on there too that we're probably gonna choke up to. There's gonna be some heavy stuff on there, but it's gonna be a Cold record. And man, that's all I want to do is keep creating cool music. You know, there's no set sound. Well, there's a set sound. There's not a certain format that we have to follow anymore. And I don't know if we ever followed the fucking format. We just kept we kept doing what we always did, what they didn't want us to do.
Yeah.
And it probably hindered our career and put us, you know, didn't put us to the status that we needed to be at. However, still playing music, people are still coming to my shows, still got a tour bus, and we're enjoying our lives. So I don't know. Could be worse ways to live a life.
That's all that matters, man. And you know, a lot of fans get mad at bands when they deviate from, you know, what they fell in love with, and it's like, how is that fair to the artist that they do the same thing over and over again? Like that's not fair to them. They're creative. They want to try different things, and you know, who are we to say you got to do this again? Like, just
and if you're a truly creative person, you, like I said, you're an honest songwriter. So you know, you're writing about things as your life progresses and you become older. Kids, you know, you have kids, you get a family, other things become important to you in your life. Not that you write about that, but it just changes the feel of everything, you know, when you create. And things are more important, you know. It's not just like the first record, it was all just, I don't even know what I was talking about half those songs. You know, they make sense to me, but did they make sense to anybody else? I go, nobody's gonna come up with the fuck I said. As my songwriting progressed, I got a little better and still leaving it vague, but definitely giving you, you know, a perspective on what the song is and what it's about. Still, some people get it entirely wrong. They'll come up to me at shows and talk about a song, and I'm like, yeah, that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. However, it helped you once, right? It helped you through something. So that's all you need to know. I really got, I think on the last record, Things We Can't Stop, that all these interviewers are calling in and they want to do a breakdown of what each song's about, exactly that. And I just go, I did that once, and I just go, I can't do this. Like, I don't want people to know what the songs are about. Whatever the song's about, when they hear it, to them is what that song's about, you know? However, on the past tour, I did do 3 or 4 songs where I told them why they were written and things that were happening. And I think I did that with those songs because of that, because people were taking out context and maybe way too out of context.
right.
Like The Day Seattle Died was basically written for Lane Staley. However, the Kurt Cobain little things are in there. But I wanted them to know the impact that Lane Staley had on the friendship that we had towards the end of his life, that inspired that song, you know.
Yeah.
Things like, but yeah, man. So it takes a long time sometimes for cold records, because we got to live a life to write a life, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. That's, I'm just always curious as to how that works. You know, I mean, you know, again, we shouldn't demand, you know, every 2 years or whatever it might be. It comes when it comes, right?
Yeah, I wish I could do that. I wish I was that dude that could just write a record every 2 years, but I don't know. I think music's more important to me than that. I know when, you know, I've been through in the industry for so long. I remember bands that I was talking to, and they were like, well, bro, we got the 3 hits, so everything else is basically fluff. I'm like, what, why, A, why would you say that out loud in front of anyone ever? B, what the fuck? Fluff? Like, why would you want to put any fluff out? I feel like every song is important to me on a record. You know? It's just the way it is. And it should always be like that with everybody's. It's a shame on them. However, those bands that I'm talking about, I don't know, they no longer exist.
Right. I mean, I loved the follow-up, A Different Kind of Pain from You're the Spider. And I think for me, it's because it came out after my dad passed. So I was going through, you know, a weird time in my life too. And I asked some questions to, you know, I put on social media that I was going to be talking to you. And so I created a segment called Take a Shot. I wanted to try and engage listeners of the podcast, fans of guests, to kind of get involved and take a shot in it and ask you questions. And a lot of them were just people saying, you know, how much you and your band helped them. So, people really love you.
Man, I'm blessed.
And I'm sure you know that.
I feel that, yeah. Every show, every time we get on social media, there's beautiful comments and posts written for us, and messages to us. Really proud of that, man. I'll say that, if everything fell today, at least I had that in my life, and I was able to make people help them get out of a situation that they were in because of a song. And I get it, because I did that. That's how music affected me when I was younger. It's really hard for me to find those songs now. However, I still find them, you know. But yeah, it's a blessing in itself. And I think that's the only thing a musician could ever want in a song that he puts out there is for it to, people say it betters their lives. It helps them through a hard time. And, like you said, your dad had passed, right? So
yeah,
I was saying you needed that record at that time. So it was important to you. And that's what it was. That's all it is.
Yeah. And I don't want to keep it too much longer, but do you mind if I read some of these questions for you?
Yeah, man, let's go.
Well, actually, one is Glenn Lawless. He actually saw you in the airport. I think it's Scranton Wilkes-Barre Airport a week or two ago.
Right.
Took a picture with you.
His wife or his girlfriend was on the plane with me.
I think it was Leslie, his wife's girlfriend.
Okay, gosh.
Yeah, I think that's how it was. But yeah, huge fans of yours. And he had asked, how do you manage the expectations of keeping the fans satisfied with songs from Cold, but also realizing that you have new members that contribute to the evolution of the band?
I think it's kind of easy with that, because the people that I chose to be in Cold, it definitely, there's a moment, there's a period of time that, they come in playing like they were with their other bands and stuff like that, but they are all fans of Cold, so they know the songs already, kind of, and then they just have to get acclimated to being a little, I don't know, looser, a little not as great as they were before, because we play we just play off. I play off vibe. Like I think Nick and Lindsay, when we first started working together, they were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" Right? Like some days I would just be like, if the vibe wasn't there, I couldn't sit down and do it, which made me feel strange, because I wanted them to be able to work and do things. But so yeah, it was stressful, and I think that whole thing got in my mind when we were making records, and it tripped me out a little bit, because I felt like I was letting them down if I couldn't perform that day. However, they got it, they just saw it happen. So they go, well, some days it's great, some days we're just not doing anything. But on the great days, it's really great. So yeah, man, they just fit in perfectly. And Nick, Nick's been with me forever, like since Lifer days. So he came in the Cold as a Cold member, honestly. He fit right in. So yeah, and Johnny and Tony, I think they complement the band. Johnny has his own little thing, man. Definitely, he sticks to the script as much as possible for the Cold songs. However, he does some cool shit with his pedals that just lifts it a little more. It makes it a little cooler. So I think it's great. And I like the evolution of all of that. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a cool aspect of it.
Yeah.
Christy Kenu said, or asked, this kind of goes to the fans sharing their stories too. Does the emotional toll of fans sharing their stories with you become difficult? She personally hesitated to share her part of the story because ultimately she just hopes that how much it outweighs hearing the pain.
Through periods of my life, it's been really bad. And through other times, I think I've been more mature about it and dealt with it better. Sometimes I don't still to this day, because, that's this reason I don't have social media pages, like personal social media pages. I had to get rid of my Facebook page years ago. because every day I got on, it was just, I was going through so much shit, right? Like my sister got cancer again. Life wasn't great. Things were bad. And then I got on there and there was just everyone else going through shit too. And I wasn't strong enough to help at that time. I wasn't strong enough to offer any advice. I just ran away from it. And then I write songs about it. You know what I mean? Like, I still read it and I still take that in, and all those little pieces I take in, you know, just gather in this little compartment in my brain. And one day things come out. So I don't know, man. It like I said, it depends on what's going on in my life. If I'm strong enough to deal with it, yeah. And I'll listen to everybody every time I go out, every show. Well, before the show, after the show, I'm just a hot mess. I'm crying because dark shit happened to somebody. You know what I mean? People come up and, you know, the kid had died a couple of weeks ago, or the father, or something tragic had happened, but they needed to come to that culture to make them feel better.
Yeah.
You know, which is another just amazing thing that I never thought I would have from writing songs.
Yeah.
People dealing like that. That was a good question.
Ben Bush asked how you got hooked up with so many NAPA artists. We went through that, but Ben is a big supporter of the local music scene here in our area, so I wanted to make sure give him a little shout out. Stephen Fott asked, will your past albums get released on vinyl or maybe a box set?
We've been trying. I just wrote to somebody on a comment today. It's really hard because we were on so many different labels. We were on Flip Records, and Flip got folded into A&M, and then Interscope and Atlantic, so many different things, Geffen. So trying to go through all the tape with that to find out where our masters are and ask them if we're able to release those on vinyl was a thing in itself. And we finally got to that point, and then basically ended up being them wanting, you know, Universal owns everything now, basically. So they wanted to charge us a ridiculous amount of money just to buy the rights to our record to put it out on vinyl. And you can't just release it on vinyl. And this isn't a money grab for us. We just want to have these things for our fans, right? So just put it out. And yeah, they won't do that. So we try every couple of years to go back and, you know, re-ask and see if things have changed, or, you know, and I think eventually we'll get there and we'll make it happen. But not anytime soon. Those records are coming out on vinyl. I would love if we had them on vinyl. I collect vinyl. I would like those records in my collection on vinyl. Just to have them. Yeah.
Cool. Jennifer Winnie said, do you think, or when do you think a new album might come out?
Oh, well, you know, the pandemic happened, and instead of writing, it just was a huge blur for everybody, I think. So we just all wanted to be back out on the road. So with us this year, we're going back out in the fall. We've done 2 tours already this year, I think. Yeah, so yeah, it'll be 3 tours in the year. And we just want to or no, the other tour was at the end of October of last year, but it's all close together. We just want to tour right now and have fun and get back and let people know that we're back and out and doing things like that. So I think that's what we're going to do this year, and possibly next year. We'll start out touring, and then maybe next summer we'll go hide because we hate touring and playing in the summer and the heat and all that crap. We're recluses, so we all like being inside. So I think maybe next summer we'll start writing one. Maybe we'll go to a cold place that's dreary and nasty.
There you go.
Figure it out.
Well, I did get a lot of other questions, but I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I know you've probably got important things to do. But Chris Hero did say that man played a big part in saving my life.
That's very sweet. Yeah, man, you never know. Like I said earlier, you know, writing a song and putting it out there and being able to do that, nothing better than that. So I appreciate you, Chris Harrow.
It's amazing like what music does, and I think we talked about it earlier. And it's funny when I put this on social media Sunday or Monday, and I got flooded with questions, and I even got a private message from a guy, and we ended up talking for, it may have been an hour, maybe an hour and a half, about cold and what cold meant to us. And he kind of came at me initially, um, and I thought maybe he was like the photographer of the photo I used, because I didn't credit the photo because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, here we go. Like, I'm gonna get yelled at, and I would be more than happy to give photo credit. But he said, he mentioned something about the song "Stupid Girl," and I've seen past interviews about you talking about that song. We don't need to go there unless you wanted to, but kind of came at me, said what he wanted to say about it, and said I was kind of misleading the audience with the question because it wasn't true.
Oh, because you put Stupid Girl in the, like he's written Stupid Girl and stuff. Okay.
I said, the band that brought us or gave us Stupid Girl and a few other songs, and he thought that I was misleading.
I get that. And I think that's partly my fault as well, because I was I love the song. The song was written by me, Cold and Weezer, Rivers from Weezer. Huge Weezer fans. I love Rivers. He's an amazing songwriter. The only problem, the main problem that I had with that song is that the label, after all, we're an emotional band. We write these gut-wrenching songs, uplifting from dark times. And then, of course, as soon as they heard Stupid Girl, they wanted to put that out as a single. I thought it may have been a bad representation of the band. However, that song put us to another stratosphere when it came out. It got us on those shows and put us at another level, and possibly is one of the reasons that I'm still able to play today and have the fan base that we do and things like that, regardless of what people think about the song. But I'll tell you this, man, every time we play it live, people do the whoa-whoas and they go crazy, and it's a good vibe,
Yeah.
So it's a fun song. And, going back to watching Limp Bizkit play last night, man, it's just a fun time. So granted, you're going to have a lot of emotional shit happen to you through a cold show, but maybe for one or two songs, just enjoy it for a minute. Grab you a beer and, sing along. It's all good.
Yeah, it was just cool. Like, I had no idea who this guy is. I don't even think his name was real.
Yeah.
But we talked back and forth, like I said, an hour and a half, and we got past that, and agree to disagree, and it may have been half and half, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's like, he said to me, like, everyone has like something to apply to the song "Quiet Now," and he said, "What's yours?"
Yeah.
And it was it was easy. It was my dad passing, and then the night that I was talking to him, I was getting prepared to go to the vet the next day and put my cat down, that I've had for like 18 years. So it was a very emotional evening for me. But what I'm trying to get at is music is such a powerful thing, a force, and it brings people together. And thank you for doing what you do and giving us songs that we can relate to and take with us and apply to different parts of our lives, just like you're able to as well. Your fan base is rabid for sure. You say Cold Army. That's exactly what they are. They are your warriors. They will go to fight for you without a doubt.
God love them. I love them. So really appreciate it of them. And even the guy that spoke to you about the Supergirl thing, they're fearsome with shit. They like their songs, and they like the things, and anything tries to step in their way of their views of what they created for those things, they're going down.
Yeah.
So, but everybody finds that you know, everybody, like you said, quiet now. Everybody can relate to that, and everybody can get down with that song, and everybody can get down with many cold songs. So it's cool, man. And dude, it's funny. It's not funny that you were talking about your cat. The funny part about it was that during the tour, when I was explaining that song, I was telling the story about how I'd written it for one of a Cold Army fan, Matthew Kaiser, which became one of my best friends. When I was talking about that, and I was like, and everybody has this experience, right? If it's a child, if it's a father, it could be your pet, because it's the deafening silence that you know, that hurts you the most. You don't hear the tapping of the, you know, your cat walking down the hall anymore. You know, the little scuffles in the other room, the doors opening, little things like that. Like that to me, when I had that happened to me in the past, was not hearing that anymore.
Yeah.
Was the worst part. You know?
Yeah, today was, I mean, I went to work today, and, you know, just being at work was a good escape. But I mean, I remember, you know, going to fill his food bowl, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have to do that anymore. I have 2 cats, and so I would fill, you know, one for each one, and I was like halfway there, and I'm like, shit, I don't have to do that. And he was diabetic he was alive for 18, diabetic for 10, which my vet was like, I don't know how this cat lived for 10 years as diabetic.
Wow.
So like I would have to give insulin every morning and every evening. So it's like that routine that I've had for 10 years is no longer. And just those little things like you're saying, it's not there. And I mean, I had that cat longer than I've known my wife.
Yeah.
And the cat had, you know, it was my friend's dad's cat. And that cat had kittens. His dad passed away. My buddy was in state college, and so he couldn't take these kittens. So I just took one to help out. And I mean, I couldn't even have a cat in my apartment, but I saw the cat, and like I knew I'd figure it out. And he was with me for 18 years, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, I thought I was ready for it. I thought, you know, because he was older. I mean, I'm not dumb. Everything.
Years, that's a long time for a cat.
Yeah.
That's a good life, though. You know?
Yeah. So.
And he was with you, bro. So he had a great. He was good.
Yeah. So. Well, man, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. I want to let you go. Thank you so much for doing this. And I didn't want to talk too much about the history of Cold. I mean, you've been around for a long time, and people have probably heard your story. So thank you for sharing what you did share. What can people expect from Cold moving forward? You know, this year and maybe even to the year after that.
Well, for this year, I think we're doing a fall tour. I can't really say the name of the tour yet. Some people may know it. I might have slipped up around the road, but it's more of an anniversary type thing. And so we're doing that, but it's only a 3.5-week tour in September with that. More East Coast dates, mid country East Coast kind of thing with that tour specifically. And then I don't know, you know, us and Biscuit were talking last night about some things, so we'll see what happens for next year. That could be nice to be back with them. And can I just say, man, I appreciate you, dude. You know, we kind of hooked up from work and things, but you're a genuine guy, man. I really appreciate you asking me to do the podcast, and you know, everybody always talks good about you. He says great things, so it's nice to have you as a friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like you said, you have no idea what it means to me that you take the hour or so to give me, and I can't say thank you enough. Thanks for everything. Music, doing this, you know, working with me at Axelrad for your merch and things like that. So
of course, dude. You guys are amazing. Well, I appreciate you all. So yeah, man, anytime. Let's do this again.
Well, if you do that those shows with Limp Bizkit, I'll hit you up. That would be
If I do
all
a
time.
Limp Bizkit, I'm setting you up. We're gonna do it.
That'd be all time.
On there. Yeah, we'll get it on.
Dude.
All right.
Scooter, thank you so much. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you.
Take care. Thank you.